The Pokemon market has been white hot, and I really just want to quickly talk about whether or not I think it's a good time to sell, because I've seen a lot of people talking about this with skyrocketing prices. Everybody's asking, do I buy or do I sell? And I always think that there's no direct answer for that. Oftentimes I will see on the news people like stock financial experts talk about their predictions, and then they're just completely wrong. And it's the same thing as like a meteorologist talking about what he thinks the weather's gonna do. They're trained for this, they go to school for this, they say what they think, and then they're just completely wrong, and people are like, you tried. And I think that finances tend to be the same way. Oftentimes they will just be like, yeah, I think this is gonna happen, and then it doesn't, and it's like, well, there's 100 variables, how can I know? So that being said, I feel like when the market is high, it's a good time to sell. That's what they say, buy low, sell high. So while yes, things are skyrocketing and it seems like it'll never end, it always does. It always will come to a stop, come to a halt, possibly come back down, and all I know for sure is right now it's high. So if you're thinking about selling, it's really hard to argue that now is a bad time to sell. We have sky high prices, and also liquidity is also rather high. People are buying stuff up left and right. And I think that if you're going to make a profit on an item, if you bought an item for something and you double your money, triple your money, maybe 5x your money, there's no reason to complain about that. In the past, I could have made a lot more money on Dogecoin and SNDL stock, right? I could have made a bunch more money. But you know what? Instead of sitting here and complaining, I could have made this much. Yes, I still fantasize about it sometimes. Yes, I do say I could have made this much sometimes because the numbers are they're just so good when you hear them. But at the end of the day, I still made money on those transactions. I did win on those transactions. So it's like, dude, you know what? If you make a profit, just be happy that you made a profit at all. And don't get me wrong, there's definitely not opportune times to sell. Like, you might look back on this and see that this is right before somehow it really takes off, because right now we don't have any big influencers talking about Pokemon. There's a lot of YouTubers talking about it, but it's smaller YouTubers, and it's mostly YouTubers that are sort of in the space already, except for me. But that being said, I feel like this is not necessarily hit the mainstream yet. It's just about to. I feel like although the surge is going crazy, I feel like it's still confined into people that are paying attention to Pokemon. And I think that we're slowly overlapping. We're slowly spilling over into just everyday people are understanding that Pokemon's going crazy again. That's just my speculation. I don't know if that's true. I don't know if that holds any weight, but I just feel like now we're slowly getting to a point where it's eventually going to hit mainstream attention, and when that does, I really think it might actually skyrocket. So it is hard to say because we are so early into January. We're not even like a month into the year, and on top of that, the 30th anniversary is coming up. So I personally do still feel like prices can continue to skyrocket. However, there's a lot of boxes that I've sold. I sold almost all of my Japanese booster boxes, and I'm only holding on to one now. And the reason that I'm only holding on to one is because I like looking at it and it makes me feel happy. And I think when you're an investor in Pokemon, like, oftentimes you get distracted. You see something and you're like, this is an investment, and then you slowly form an emotional attachment to it. And when you do that, then you don't really want to sell it. So I feel like that's one line in the sand that you really have to make as a Pokemon investor is, where is your personal collection and where is your investor collection? It's very difficult to say when prices will start to come down. It's really hard to say that, and I would be lying if I said I didn't think there's a lot of room yet to grow, which sounds crazy because we're like hitting all-time highs on a lot of things, but I still feel like there's room to grow. And one thing that I would say is, like, for me personally, when I'm investing, I like to buy multiples of things. So I knew that I wanted to get a card for my collection because I really like the artwork, but I also knew that it was going to be a card that I felt like was going to shoot up in price. For example, the Mewtwo, right? The Mewtwo from V-Star Universe. I think that's a beautiful card, absolutely beautiful artwork. I wanted one for myself. But also I knew, like, that's probably going to go up in price. People love that card. I'm not the only one. So I forced myself to buy a couple instead of just one, because it's sometimes it's really crappy when you're in that situation where you only have one of something and you have to pick. So just a good general rule of thumb, and you probably heard this before, is just buy two of everything, and then you don't have to make that decision, do I sell, do I keep? You could just sell, and keep. And the best way is to buy 3 of everything, so you can have one for your collection, have one to sell early, and then have one just in case you are way off and prices shoot up. I'm doing that right now. Today I bought my first 2 English booster boxes ever of Pokemon, not Magic the Gathering or Flesh and Blood, but of Pokemon. I bought my first 2 booster boxes ever, and they are Temporal Forces because they're still in stock on the Pokemon Center website. And honestly, after looking at the card artwork, I do think it is one of the stronger modern sets, and I feel like booster boxes in general just go up. And yeah, I bought 2 of them because I don't want to have to sit in that situation where I'm like, do I sell now? Do I sell later? I bought 2 so I can sell now and sell later and hopefully make a good amount of money each time. But I think the main reason that it is a good idea to sell now is just because of liquidity, and also because I was talking to a commenter about this the other day, but there is also the thought that like if you hold on to something for longer, it becomes harder to sell due to a couple different factors. One being the chance that like maybe your price goes way higher and then there's fewer buyers that are willing to spend that, you know, amount of money, or there's also the chance that the set just becomes a forgotten relic. It's something that some people know about, collectors know about, but newer investors, newer collectors aren't really paying attention to. Like Vivid Voltage, nobody wants to, it's still available on the Pokemon Center website. You can get booster boxes, and it seems like nobody really wants it, nobody really cares. So it's like, and just because your product is old doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be valuable. And on the contrary, if it does become more valuable, realistically, there are a lot less people that are willing to pay that much money, or can pay that much money in a certain, you know, in one certain investment. So I do think I think it's like there's a term in real estate where it's like don't buy a white elephant. Essentially, don't get something so extravagant and so expensive that you only have a handful of buyers, because then it's difficult. Like that's kind of the idea. So I feel like this is sort of that, you know, you get into that white elephant territory of like, all right, the longer I wait, the less people know about this. Maybe the more pricey it gets, and therefore less people can, you know, afford it. Now, I don't know if this is completely accurate, especially not to every situation, but this is just a scenario that I was discussing with a commenter on one of my videos, and it did get me thinking about the thought, you know, like the opportunity cost, you know, like if you hold on to an item for so long, like let's say right now, let's take Evolving Skies as an example. Let's say I had an Evolving Skies booster box, and let's say that I bought it for around $150, and now they're selling for almost $1,000, right? They're $1,000 a booster box. If I make $850 on that, I spend $150 and then I sell for $1,000. I don't care what the item is. That's great. That's a good profit. That's a win. But I think now I have to think like, okay, do I want to hold it for longer? Because yeah, like it's valuable and the price still will go up. I do think that Evolving Skies probably will keep going up. I think there's going to be a limit. I think it's going to slow down eventually, and it's going to whatever. But I do think it'll probably go up. I could see it hitting like 1,200 or something like that. Like I feel like it could still move, but realistically, how much is it going to move? Personally, if I don't care about like the sentimental, like look, this is an Evolving Skies box, as long as I don't care about that and I'm looking at just the numbers, just the investing side, I personally would sell my Evolving Skies box and take that $1,000 and put it all into Crown Zenith or 151. But that's just my thoughts. Like, yeah, I would put it and roll it into something else, and then I can have multiple products, and those will all appreciate, and then sell those, and then when those all go into something cheaper, then those all appreciate. You know what I mean? That's just my thought process. If I have one product, and instead of waiting for it to increase in value, and it might increase in a lot of value, who knows? It could increase in a lot of value, and maybe the proper move is to play it safe and hold it. But at the end of the day, you never know. You can never tell the future. So I don't like the idea of like stressing yourself out. Like, do I buy? Do I sell? At the end of the day, you can't tell the future. Nobody can. I don't care. Even if it's AI, can't tell the future. Sorry, things changed. Pandemic, perfect example. Donald Trump was like a television star. Now he runs our country. Like things just happen. Wild stuff can happen. I'm just like, listen, if I keep it simple, if I made money on the product, be happy about it. You know what I mean? Don't be kicking myself that I could have made double more. Take your profits, move forward, and keep going on, and don't look backwards because there's no money back there. You can't reach any of that. You got to focus on what you can grab in front of you. I don't know why I just got this image, but you know when you were a kid and you were in that glass box and you're like, just grab as many dollars as you can, and you're like, ah! I don't know what that has nothing to do with anything. That's it for the video. I just wanted to touch on my thoughts on like buying versus selling, especially right now. I feel like the main takeaways are like, don't beat yourself up for buying or selling. Just do what makes sense to you, and if it wasn't the right move, don't stress it. Focus on the next thing. And honestly, yeah, the market keeps going up. I do think that it could probably continue to go up, but also if you try to sit here and say that it's a bad time to sell right now, you're just wrong. Prices are super high, and liquidity is also super high. So I mean, it's a fantastic time to sell. You know what I mean? What people really want to know is like, how much more will the market rise? And at the end of the day, nobody can tell you that. Nobody can answer that. But at the end of the day, right now, the market is up and people are buying. So do with that information what you will. Again, my advice, just buy multiple products in the first place so you don't have to come to this stressful conclusion of like, oh, do I get rid of it? So yeah, thank you so much for watching. Leave a like, leave a subscribe, all that BS, because it makes me feel really good. When I see a little thumbs up on one of my videos, I'm like, wow, I hate myself just a tiny bit less. Little bit less. So, yeah, that's it. Thank you so much, and I will see you in the next one. All right.